Hi everyone, I'm Nancy McNally of NancyMcNallyQuilts.com. Today we're going to work on my quilt block, Rock Around the Block. And you can find the pattern on my website. That is the name of the pattern, Rock Around the Block. So let's gather our fabrics and let's get started. And speaking of fabrics, I have a beautiful fat quarter bundle that is designed specifically for this quilt. Now, I will tell you this much before we get started. The original quilt, which is right there, I used a white background, but in today's tutorial, I'm going to use a yellow background. It shows up a little bit better, and a lot of my quilts have white backgrounds, so we're just kind of mixing it up today. All right. Gather your supplies. If you're interested in making the pattern, again, you can find it on my website, NancyMcNallyQuilts.com/shop/Rock Around the Block, or just put in the search bar, Rock Around the Block. So much easier. All right, let me get set up and let's get started. So let's take a look at the quilt block. Now, first of all, we're going to have a left and a right block. A left and a right side, let's put it that way. So we will be joining triangles to the sides of our 9-patch. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to prepare your strip sets. Now I'm using small strip sets because I'm only going to make 6 9-patch blocks. So you're going to sew your colors to the outside of one of your background strips. You're going to do 2 of these. See, I have 2 of them. And then for the middle section of your 9-patch, you sew 1 color strip to and have your background fabric on both sides. Easy peasy, correct? All right. Make sure you press according to the pattern arrows, the pressing arrows. So on our first step, we need to cut our 9-patch blocks. So I'm going to get set up for that and I'll be right back here. So to begin with, I have my strip sets laid out. Now the center row strip set, let me open that up. I have placed it on top of this one so that I have the color landing right inside of the background fabric. It just makes it quick and easy. Now if you have a stripology ruler, by all means, grab it and use it. It's faster. I don't have enough room to have mine over at my table here. All right, so I'm going to use this ruler, this Creative Grid ruler, and I'm going to trim off and get a nice clean edge. All right, so that's the first step you want to do. Now we have a nice clean edge. And I'm going to take this off and take this off. Okay, so on our next thing, a little tip here is I'm going to grab another ruler. I'm going to place it down here. And I'm using that as like a weight so that the fabrics don't move. All right, so now I'm going to just take my ruler and I'm going to cut my strips. And then we can start making our 9 patches. So right here, just with the first cut that I made, I can go ahead. I'm going to make sure that these are lined up right in here, that these seam allowances match up, those 2 right there. And I can go ahead and sew these because this is a top row or a bottom row, whichever one you choose to place it in. And that's the center row. So I could go ahead and sew this one, open it, press it, and then join this one to the side. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to finish making my 9 patches. So let me do this one for you, and then I will finish. So as you can see, I've got those sewn. Now I'm just going to quickly finger press this. I'm going to join this one to it. Now here's something that I always do. I always have green opposite of blue. I usually don't have it right beside it or on the same side like that. That's just something that I've always done. You can do whatever you like if you're using multiple colors. All right, we're going to line up this one and sew this, and then we'll have our first 9-patch completed. Let's check this one out. Perfect. Again. Okay, so our first 9 patches done. Now each block needs 6 of these 9 patches. And once you get them all sewn, make sure that they are the size we need for them to be, which is listed in the pattern. All right, I'll meet you back here in a few minutes. I will have my 9 patches complete. So in our next step, we need to prepare these triangles that are going to go around each of the 9 patches. Well, not all of the 9 patches, but 4 out of the 6 9 patches for each block will have these triangles on it. So what you're going to do is you're going to need to mark. Now we're going to go 3/8 inches in on the top left, and then you're going to draw a mark. And then we're going to rotate that rectangle and then mark, and just repeat the same thing. Because, whoops, and I folded that over. There we go. And you're going to repeat the same thing. Okay, now this one's not long enough to make a cut. So I'm going to grab another ruler. You're going to do this for all of them. So you're going to have 2 left tilts and 2 right tilts for each block. So you need a total of 8 for the left and 8 for the right. That's per block. All right, so now we're going to cut this apart just like that. Now there's wiggle room in these triangles. Yay! So be thankful. This is right side up, and I have 2 stacked. So this is the right one, or excuse me, this is the left one, and this is the right one. I'm going to flip it over because it needs to go this way. Same with this one. This is the, see if I flip it this way, it's going to go in this stack, and this is going to go in that stack. So you see how the angles, this one is angling this way, and this angle's out here, and the skinny ends are down here. Now, before we sew any triangles to any 9 patches, we need to lay the block out first. So I'm going to move these out of the way so that we have room to lay them out. Now, if you're wondering what these are going to be the rectangles that attach to the outside of the tilted 9-patch blocks. You'll see that when we pull these together. This larger rectangle goes right across the middle. We'll use that in just a second. All right, so let's lay these out. So I know I need 2 for my tilts at the top. So I have my left and my right. Now, let me grab one of these rectangles here. If you need to take a picture as you go along so you can remember the layout just to get the hang of it, these are going to join to here, okay? That's the easy part. So I'm going to lay these like this and put a clip in these and move them out of the way. I can go ahead and sew those, but what's most important right now is that I teach you this part. I'm going to pull this one down and this one down. Okay, so this was how these were laid out. And all I did was pick them up and move them over, but I kept them in the same order, if you will. All right, so I'm going to take this one and I'm going to lay it just like this. Okay, I want this wider end, this bottom of the triangle, to come towards between these two. Now, the tip is over here, but it's a blunt tip. So I'm going to put this one here. So you're going to have the bottom or the wider end of the tall triangle, and then the small end or the blunt end, and then the wider end will touch the blunt end. And that's how you go all the way around, okay? So see this, how that goes over? Here's the blunt end. And then we have the wide end. The bias will always join to the 9-patch. Okay, now I'm going to lay this right here. It doesn't go to this one, I'm just laying it here. Okay, so now we have this one. Okay, so these are angled this way, and this is that long bias edge. And we need for it to go like this. Do you understand that? These will be joined together. All right, so we have here. Now we're going to rock around this way. So here's that blunt tip. So let's get another one, if I can pick it up. And it's going to join here, okay? Small tip, blunt end to the wider bottom of that tall triangle. You're going to do it again. Bias goes to the 9 patch, tip to the bottom. That's easy to remember. Here's the tip, and the wider bottom joins. The bias joins to the 9 patch. So I'm going to lay this aside. So these are actually going to go, I'm going to switch them. These will go here and these will go here because we rotate this so the right hand tilt now becomes the left side and the left one becomes the right side. But don't get them mixed up. Take your time. Okay, so now let's get set up for sewing. I'm going to begin with this one. So I'm going to take this top one, and here's the easiest way to do this. I'm going to rotate it so that you can see it better. We're going to take this blunt tip and we're going to line it up here. You're going to take it all the way up to that tip. So see, the blunt edge is here and the tip is lined up right there, and then put a crease. Pinch it with your fingers and now you have a crease. I'm going to lay it back down. Now I'm going to take this 9 patch. I'm going to fold it over, match those seams, match the corners, and crease. Make sure you crease the side that you're sewing it onto. Okay, so it's really easy. Now we're going to match crease to crease. Okay, it's going to look like this, and it's hanging off over here and it's hanging off over here. Make sure you've got them lined, and now let's sew this one. All right, because I'm using batiks, I'm going to fold it and I'm going to crease it with my fingers. Okay, you see I've sewn this side right here. Now we're going to pick up the one opposite across the block from it. Do the same thing. I'm going to fold this in half, find middle, give it a nice crease, pick this one up, take that blunt tip in and align that corner up to that tip and give it a nice crease. Okay, we're going to go right sides together and we're going to sew. We're going to work our way around the block just like we would do if you were making like a square and a square block. Okay, so now we've got these two on. I'm going to use the iron quickly and get these pressed. Okay, I'm going to place it back in here. I believe I had them going this way. I think I did. Okay. All right, so now we're going to join the next one. Repeat the process. Find the tip. Oh, I still have my mark on that one. It'll come off. Crease. I always place it back down on the side and then fold this one. Okay, we got crease to crease now. And I think you've got it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this block, and then I'll come back and we'll work through the next side. All right, so you can see I have my right tilt 9 patch complete. See how easy it is? Now we are going to trim these down, but I don't trim these down until I have all of them ready. So in order to do the left, we're going to use the same technique, same process as we did before. So I'm going to go ahead and find center on this one. And it doesn't matter if you find center on your 9 patch first or if you find center on your tall triangle first. Okay. So as you can see, I have my triangles joined to the 4 9 patches that I need for this quilt block. So before, and I also sewed the 2 that goes to the middle rectangle. Now, before we sew all this together, we need to trim these to size. And I need for you to pay attention to that part because these are an odd size. So before trimming, make sure this is the layout you like. Take a picture of it, because inevitably you could have done this or you could have done this. It's okay. All right, I think I turned that twice. There we go. All right, so let's get these trimmed. Start with this one. Now I'm going to use my 6.5 inch square ruler and use the side with the 1/4 inch seam line. First thing we want you to do, or first thing I want you to do, is we're going to take the 1/4 inch line. Let me move it a little closer over here so it's more centered. There we go. I'm going to move it up. So there's, right here is the corner of this little square from the 9 patch. So I have my 1/4 inch here, and then I have excess over here. Now let me pull this down so that one's close to that edge up there. There we go. We're still right there. Now we are going to be trimming these down to 4 5/8 inches. It's an odd number. So I need for you to only trim one side of the block at a time, because you need to have your 1/4 inch. If you trim 2 sides and there's an oops on one of the other sides, then you can't correct it. All right, so I'm going to take that, I'm going to trim that off. Now, this one is going to rotate to the bottom, the one you just trimmed. Repeat the same process. And what I do, so I have the 1/4 inch over here, and then I look over here. So 4 5/8, and if you need to put tape on your ruler so that you can follow the lines, go right ahead. So here's 4 1/2 on this line, so 4 5/8 is right here. So what you want to pay attention to is that you have more than 1/4 inch over here for trimming purposes. That's very important. Whoops. All right, so I'm going to trim this side now. I'll rotate it again. So this is side 3. So if I trim here right now, I want you to pay attention to this. This is the 4 1/2 inch line. So if I trim here, trim this excess off, this block won't be big enough. So this is why we trim one side at a time. So I'm going to move it over so I have the 5/8 right there. And now I'm just going to trim a little bit off of this side, because these are triangles and they're kind of like hair. They have a mind of their own, and they're going to move and wiggle and do whatever they want to when you least expect it. Okay, final cut is this one. We're going to rotate it one more time, and I'm going to put the 5/8 inch right here, and I have exactly 1/4 inch on this side. All right, so I'm going to trim this one. There we go. Now, your block, oh, I was messing with it. There we go. Okay, your block should be 4 5/8. I'm going to pull this down just a little bit. There we go. And we are good. Okay, so that's how you trim that block. Now leave them in. Okay, so that was the last side. So this was the first side. So let's see. We have to, this is why you take a picture of it. I'm going to put that one right there. I'm going to bring this one over. So remember, my blue one was the bottom corner that's next to the green. And I can change it if I need to. Okay, do this again. Put 1/4 inch out here. Look over here and make sure that everything is good, that you have plenty of room over here to trim off so that you still have 4 5/8. Now see, it's sitting right there on the 5/8. So that makes me a little nervous. So I'm going to move it over this way just a smidge so I have a tiny bit to take off. Okay. All right, we're going to rotate it again, or this one we're rotating for the first time. Okay, again, I'm going to pull it down. Now, look again. Here's the 5/8 right here. I have some room to trim, so I'm good. rotate again. So this will be the third side. And I'm going to go ahead and line up the 5/8 over here. Now I still have trim over here, so this won't work down here for you to do that. But look, I've got plenty of room. Okay, one more rotation. I'm going to line up the 4 5/8. There we go. And I have plenty of 1/4 inch seam allowance. All right, that's how you trim the blocks. I believe I said I had, oops, the blue next to the green. So we're going to leave it like that, and then I'll go and replace them. Okay, so you're going to have to trim all of them, and then we're going to put the block together. So I'll meet you back here after I trim these two. Little piece of information that's not in the pattern. If you want to remove, if there's any excess, like this little triangle tip right here, if you want to take that off before you join the blocks, go right ahead. That will help with the bulk. And so there's one over here. There we go. Okay, and you can do that with all of them. There should be probably 2 for each one that you can trim off. All right, so the first thing we're going to do now is we're going to join these before we add the side rectangles. Let me grab my side rectangles. We need 4 per block. If you'd like, you can go ahead and join the rectangles to your tilt 9 patch. But I'm going to join the 9 patches first. So I'm going to go right sides together. Now, I'm going to grab a pin. These are bulky seams. There's nothing you can do to change that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull this to the middle. So I'm going to put a pin right here, right in that intersection right there. And then I'm going to pick up this one, and I'm going to have my pin go through this one right here. Maybe. There it goes. Okay. I'm just going to leave it just like that. And the next thing, oops, place a pin right here. Sometimes it's tough, hard to put a pin in a batik. And then I'm going to put a pin over here and not put it through your finger. I'm going to put it sideways. There we go. I know I'm sewing this side. Okay, so I've got these lined up. Now, they're still going to move, so when you join these, and if they don't line up perfect, it's okay. I promise, it's okay. I'm going to show you. So here's the one I made yesterday. Notice these don't join right here. These don't line up. These are slightly off. So are these. This one I did pretty good with. But with the movement that goes on in this, it's okay if they are slightly off. All right, let's get these joined, and then we'll see how well I did. Wow, that's pretty good. There we go. Now, this seam I will open. So watch these triangles that are kind of like they're laying flat. They're going to come to the center. And these triangles that are like going out that way, they go on the outside of the block. Now, you can join the rectangles to the sides. I'm going to go ahead and join my rectangles and get this together, and then we're going to pull the whole block together. All right, as you can see, we have the block, all the pieces and parts are together. We are not going to join the stitch and flip corners, the little red triangles, and I'll show you why in just a few minutes. So make sure before you join the block that these triangles right here that come together right here in the middle are going to be joined to this piece right here. Here and here. You see? That's what makes the hexagon. Okay, your next step is to join the top row to the center and then join the bottom row. All right, I'm going to get mine done, and these should be the same length. Everything should be the right size. Okay, so as you can see, I finished my block. Now let's take a close look at it. Notice how these are not lined up. Same here, they're slightly off here and in here, and it's okay. You still get the hexagon in the center, and that's your goal. So if something looks off, double check that you didn't sew this side of this row over here. All right, before you join the squares that go in these corners over here. And by the way, if you do decide to do that, they are smaller than the width of this, so they're not going to line up completely to that. So before you do that, here's the tip. Make all of your quilt blocks first, all of them. Find your smallest size quilt block and trim everything to that size. You don't want to cut your sashing until you find your smallest quilt block, and that's what you trim everything to. Now, you have options. You do not have to add the sashing in between these blocks, nor do you have to add the little stitch and flip corners that make the little churn dash shoe fly block that comes in between these. And so I'm going to show you now pictures from the previous classes that I have taught where we have taken everybody's blocks, laid them out on a table, and I'm going to show you what happens when you don't use the sashing or the little stitch and flip corners. So as you can see here, this is the layout of the original Rock Around the Block quilt. And you can see the little red cornerstones are here, and here's your sashing, and, or excuse me, I said cornerstones. You can see these are the stitch and flip triangles, and there's your cornerstone and your sashing. Again, this is the traditional layout. But all you need to do when you begin laying these out, if you're going to use this layout, is you rotate the block. Notice how the rectangle in this one is going horizontal. The rectangle, the center rectangle in this one is going vertical, up and down. And that's all you need to do. And so once you lay the quilt out, take a picture of it and make sure that your colors are landing where you need for them to land. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope to see you on another video tutorial. And don't forget, this is Rock Around the Block. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and of course YouTube, and you can subscribe to my newsletter if you want to hear more, because I have some wonderful fun projects coming up. Thank you again for joining me, and have a wonderful day. Happy quilting.